All right, the Alberta Teachers Association acknowledges Treaty 6 territory, the ancestral and traditional territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, Nakota Sioux, as well as the Métis. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples whose footsteps have marked these lands for generations, including the many places that you are joining from. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who've gone before us. Our recognition of this land is an act of reconciliation and an expression of our gratitude to those whose territory we reside on or are visiting. So welcome everyone. It's great that you could join. And as I've mentioned a couple of times, for those of you maybe who are just entering the room, I invite you to visit this short bit.ly here, bit.ly/ATA-wow, and that will get you, I've got lots and lots of links. I'll try to put some of the links in the group chat. I do find that the group chats, hold on to that thought, June. That's a good question you're asking about which of these tools work on which devices, Chromebooks, web browsers. Anyways, bit.ly/ATA-wow, there's a lot of links in there. So now, you've been doing this now for 6 weeks, maybe longer. And at this point, you may have individual students, or maybe for your whole class, for your live sessions, or just you want to change things up. You want to try something interesting, something new, something unique, and something that will maybe spark interest, motivate kids to write, motivate kids to think and problem solve, or be creative in their work. And so we're going to uncover loads of different options here today, and as well give you some tips towards the end for implementing some of these things. Okay, anybody hear my doorbell? Maybe that's a delivery of some kind. I'm not getting it. Anyhow, all right, so 2 things. Number one, there's going to be a lot of stuff shared here today, and the goal here is to fill your loot bag, feel good about it. Don't feel overwhelmed. I really hope you don't feel overwhelmed. And I'm hoping that you understand that even though there's probably 20 or so things that I'll be sharing today, the idea isn't that you use all of them. It's pick and choose. Maybe you'll come away with 1 or 2 or 3 things that you think, hey, that's really cool. I want to try doing that. Okay. So let's start with our first category of sort of virtual learning experiences, okay, to spark learning in some way. Okay, Google Maps is awesome, and the Street View in particular is really super cool. If you'd like to try these things on your own, you are more than welcome to do so. I've got in most of the slides here. I've got some additional links as well. And I'll just do some demo for you. There isn't really a lot of time to go through and learn each of these tools in depth, but I'll do a quick demo if you'd like to try these things on your own as well. You're more than welcome to do so. Don't feel like you have to, but it'll be more of just sort of this is what's possible with this tool. And I've tried to provide some links where possible to kind of let you go further. So let's think about Google Maps. It's a wonderful tool. It's great for live instructions, great for sharing resources in things like Google Classroom or wherever your digital platform as well. And I'm in Edmonton, so when I open up Google Maps, it's naturally showing Edmonton. But I'm just going to type in, why don't I just go to this starred thing here, the Legislature building. So here's the piece that I want to focus you on. It's this little guy here called Pegman and this Street View. So as I get in closer to the Legislature, what I want you to know is there's some really awesome virtual kind of Street View features. And while you can certainly be watching from the street, in some cases, you can actually even get inside buildings. So here's an example. And I'm just going to drag this little Pegman, this little yellow guy from the bottom, and watch as I'm dragging it over this particular map, you'll see that a whole bunch of things start to highlight in blue. I've got roadways, I've got then these little blue circles. So anywhere there's a blue circle, that is a picture from inside the building. Or it's where someone has taken a 3-dimensional picture and have put it up onto Google Maps. So where did I get that? Well, let's do it again. It is when I load up search anything in Google Maps, then I see in the bottom right-hand corner, I've got a couple of different options here to zoom in, to zoom out. But then there's this little yellow guy, this pegman. I can just drag. And then wherever I see either one of these blue dots where somebody's uploaded a kind of one of those panoramic pictures, or if I see kind of a path, that's where the Google Maps car has driven, I can just drop Mr. Pegman. You see him swinging there? I'm going to drop this picture. And here's a picture. Look at that. It's from our friend Darren Maltese from Black Gold School Division. If any of you have used those awesome Google Slides and drawings templates, those are from Darren. So here it looks like to be a grade 6 class. Oh, there's Darren. Hey, buddy. Good to see you. So this is the legislature, and you can just drag these things around. And so you can either do this live with students and demo it for students, but what you can also do is this. So if I go to search a particular location, in this case it's the legislature, you'll see on the screen a little share button. And I can just copy that link. And I can share that now through any of my services, be it Google Classroom or D2L Brightspace, Microsoft Teams, whatever you want. And the students will be led to this Google Maps location. Now, we can link it even further. We can link it right. Remember that little Pegman picture that Darren Maltese did? Let's go to a different one. I'll go to a different picture inside the ledge. Let's see what this one looks like. All right, so this is some artwork. It's overlooking this. Now check this out. In the upper left-hand corner of this 360-degree photo, there are 3 dots. And I can share or embed. Now I can copy this link, and now if I paste this in my Google Classroom or live with my students in the chat, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, whatever you're doing your video in, Zoom. In fact, why don't I do this? I'll just paste it to you. Now when you click on that, or your students do, they'll be taken right to this 360-degree image. So it can be super cool. And the other cool thing about this is with these 360-degree pictures, they work quite nicely on mobile devices as well. So June, to answer your question about that, Google Maps and the Street View work really nicely. In fact, I think there might even be a Street View app for mobile devices like iPads, Android phones, iPhones, etc. So Google Maps, very easy to use. Look for the little Pegman in the bottom. And it can be a wonderful way to sort of spark some thinking, get kids focused, get them interested, Google Maps. All right, let's move on to our next one. I've got in the notes there, I've got that sample location. And Matt Miller gives a really great video for doing walking tours. Because when you think about it, what his idea is, in this street view, as kids are moving through this street view, they can even use a screen recorder like Screencastify, or like Flipgrid now has a screen recorder built into it as well. And they can voice narrate these virtual tours, or you could as well if you don't want to do it live. So there are some options for you. All right, Google Earth is kind of like that, but it just kind of takes this to the next level. You've seen Google Earth for a long, long time. I'm not sure if you've seen Google Earth for the last couple of years. They've made it completely web-based. It used to be an installed program, and it is awesome. And what is really awesome about, so I'm going to visit earth.google.com, and then I'm just going to click this Launch Earth. There is a whole section of resources and some more stuff there, but I'm just going to jump right in to demonstrate this. Google Earth is super cool, and let me just demo some things. You can pick anywhere near or far as this loads up. All right, I'm going to use the search button, and I'm going to go to the Eiffel Tower. Now check this out. Wherever it is on Google Earth, instead of just jumping straight there, it kind of zooms out, and then we'll zoom back in. And doing so kind of gives you a little awareness. It kind of gives you awareness of that particular, it gives you an awareness of that particular Earth, right? It gives you where in the Earth. I'm in Egypt, now I zoom out and I'm going over to France. So I kind of see where Egypt and France are relative to one another, or Edmonton. And you can see here as we zoom in a little bit closer, there's these wonderful, wonderful three-dimensional images here. And it just, if you will search a particular area, you'll see it will just do this kind of slow rotation around that. So you can see all these three-dimensional objects in here, as well as the information itself. They usually be a little information card. Now, in addition to just understanding and seeing places, there are images. You can drag little Pegman again. Remember that? See him over here? He's down in the bottom right-hand corner. You just drag Pegman to any number of places, similar to Google Maps. But there's another nice feature, and I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. There's another awesome feature. There's several features in here. Here's a measure tool, distance and area. So if you want a little opener, a little starter for your math lessons, a little estimation activity, I just clicked on this ruler. You see the little box open up here. And I'm just going to click to what do you think the perimeter of the Eiffel Tower would be? If I were to walk around the edges of the Eiffel Tower, how many meters do you think it would be? Put your guesses in the group chat. And let's see how close people are. I'm gonna just click here. You can see I click here, and just if you just keep clicking, it will just keep going. And I'll just close it, the loop. And there is my perimeter, 550 meters. And my area is a certain number of square meters. You could change the units if you wish to. So very quickly, without any technical knowledge, it becomes very easy on a real map to do some estimation and some measurement there as well. So that might be a fun thing for you to do. Note also, in addition to just the search bar where you can search anything, there is a little kind of a captain's wheel, and it's called Voyager, and they have featured information, and even they call them stories almost. So here's one, searching for sea dragons in Sydney. So I'm going to click on that. And it's just, what it does is instead of just giving you your blank Google Earth, it kind of gives you more of a guided tour around certain things. So there's lots of this ready-made stuff. We're going to go to Sydney, Australia, just off the coast of Bondi Beach. And here again, these 360-degree things, images, a little bit of information, a little, some pictures to scroll through. We've even, oh, what's that, Pegman? This is 1 of 6, so I can now, this is sort of a tour that's been built. And so I'm going to part 2, which is now off of Shelley Beach. Even goes under the water, which is super cool, Google Earth. There's a lovely fish. And so this is just something that is interesting for you to do with your students. It might be something that can spark some ideas or make kids want to write or help them understand a place they've never been to before. Again, anytime you are in these places and you see 3 dots like this, there are places to share this page or this story. And in fact, there's even a Google Classroom button there. So isn't that nice? Hey, you are absolutely right, Catherine. And guess what we're doing next is Geoguessr. Yeah, so there are some links there you can share built within these things. And so in addition to just searching for places, the Voyager is also good. There's a dice for I'm feeling lucky. Where do we want to go in the world? But there is also a whole area called projects where you can make a project and add different place markers and different sort of maps, or not maps, but you can add sort of different routes painted in as different lines, and you can sort of save it as your own tour and then share that with students. And I believe, I tried this, I don't know if it works, but there is these projects. If you do want to go a little deeper with Google Earth and create a project, it saves it in your Google Drive. And as such, you can now draw from it in Google Classroom. And if you choose the setting everyone can edit, I think it works, that you can make sort of a group Google Earth thing, have everyone in there adding different place markers and things like that to the Google Map on Google Earth. Now, don't worry about that if that sounds a little too complicated. The search button is awesome. The Voyager button is awesome. Let that be plenty. But there are lots of different things here. I've also given a link to, if you want to get your students learning about how to use Google Earth, there's, if anybody remembers a TV show, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? They have taken that TV show and they have brought it in for a particular, they have 3 different activities, and I've given links to it here. And so let's see if we can do this here. It should load it up in Google Earth, and so it teaches students how to use Google Earth, and in doing so, it does it through the story of a Carmen Sandiego caper. So in this case, it's the sort of some stolen jewels from England. So it'll take you to certain places. You have to make some guesses and clues. I won't go through the whole thing, but just to load this, just to show you, kind of give you a hint as to what it looks like, you should try one of these out. So you just, here it is, Where in Earth is, Google Earth is Carmen Sandiego. There's 3 of these different ones, and I put the link to a place that shows all 3. So here's the opening piece. Good luck, Gumshoe. Can you hear that lady talking right now? Good luck, Gumshoe. So anyhow, it kind of has Google Earth, but also this game built into it. It's a fun way to get started with Google Earth. And if you kind of want a context for your students to learn it. So check that out in the, there's even a lesson plan down there for teaching grid lines, latitude and longitude. There's a PDF in there, so feel free to check that out. Now, as Catherine mentioned, Geoguessr is a fun game. It used to be completely free, but now it's paid because Google's Maps API, which lets tools like this bring in Google Maps, now costs money. So they have a free version and a paid version, but I'll just show you the free version. Basically what Geoguessr is, it's a game. And what it does, it takes advantage of the street view. And it places you some mysterious place in the world. There are 5 rounds you get. And based on your surroundings, you can move these arrows. If you see these arrows, you can move forward, you can move different directions. And you can sometimes tell by different street signs and so on. We could zoom in on that vegetation, use that as a clue. And then when we're ready, we have to take, no, she wasn't, Carmen Sandiego wasn't talking. I don't believe there's any sound in that. But I could imagine her talking because I watched a show when I was a lot younger. Anyways, you have to guess, click somewhere on the map where, this is a really tough one. So it's certainly some oil stuff. So based on the vegetation rather, where would we guess this is? Why don't I say somewhere in Saudi Arabia? So I'm going to click there and then choose guess. And then what it does is it shows you where it actually was. Oops, this was this. And the closer you are, the more points you get. And in this case, it was, that was my guess. And here's where it actually is. And it looks like it was in Chile. So I earned 6 points. And normally you should be able to earn thousands of points. So that was a terrible, terrible guess. And then on to the next round and so on. So Geoguessr can be a fun opening way to start your activities. So again, here we go. We've got some information around us here. We can navigate a little bit, and based on some of these pictures, we can make guesses to where it could be. So that is Geoguessr. It can be a lot of fun. Google Arts and Culture is actually pretty cool as well. If you haven't been there before, it has tons of virtual museums. It also has other aspects of culture, such as music, food, and so on. You can go search by artists. You can search by, so I can do a search for, well, let's search for Van Gogh, why not? And basically, it'll show you all sorts of different things. Why don't I choose Starry Night? And you'll just see it kind of gives you that virtual tour once again. And you can scroll down and look in close. It gives you some information often with the things. And in this case, it's sort of a story that's really focused on certain aspects of the painting, and we'll give you a little instruction. So you can kind of go and do these particular stories, or if you want, you can just sort of, you can hit that explore button, and it'll give, instead of the stories, you can go to categories or collections, you can go to particular museums, and it can drop you into these kind of virtual spaces where you can explore. So Google Arts and Culture can be a lot of fun depending on the learning that's going on in your class. Again, these can be used as sort of little openers, or it can be used as part of, if you're really clever, you can use it as sort of part of your instruction to kind of motivate kids to do some writing or some thinking there, so that type of thing. All right, the Explore Livecams. I love these. And thanks to my colleague Dan, who has worked hard on these LibGuides. So I'll share with you a link. There are virtual field trips. I'll put that link down here in the group chat. Dan has added in a lot of these virtual field trips. And one of my favorites for virtual field trips is this live webcams. So Dan, I don't know if you have Explore in there, but if you don't, this is a really good one. You guys can hear that. Okay. A little bird, this is live, a little nest. So it'll show all the ones that are live, or you can go to different categories along the top. And for example, if I wanted to see this aquarium, 364 other viewers. Sometimes the videos are pre-recorded, sort of from the previous day. That was some outdoor noise, Dave, that was associated with the last live cam. So it was just some wind and trees rustling with the last video. Let's see here. So this one is an aquarium, and you can full screen it if you want. Again, it's very easy to select different categories. You could spend hours on here or once per day, but maybe that is something that would give your students cause for writing about something or thinking about something, or just maybe something fun to look at if they have finished their work early. Here's a Canada goose. It's an osprey nest. Uh-oh. We have an osprey nest with a Canadian goose. Is it a Canadian goose? A Canada goose, right? Ooh, Canada goose in the house.
All of these are also available on YouTube, so you should be able to find the YouTube version as well if running this through the Explore app is a little problematic. You can also get the app on every iOS device, probably Android as well. Right now is a perfect time for seeing little hatchlings. I think actually right now live, sort of the second from the left is a bald eagle nest with 2 little eaglets in it that are growing every single day. So it's pretty cool what's out there.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, so check it out. And as Dan mentioned, most of these are being live streamed through YouTube. So if you right-click on the video, you can copy the video URL to that direct camera. If you don't want to go to the Explore website, you can embed that or share it in any way you want.
And the volume is more than adequate, as you've heard.
Yeah. All right, and there are some other virtual field trips to various museums and various other locations that Dan has put on this particular collection. Supports for online teaching and learning from our ATA library. Speaking of which, I think Chris Gonsalves and it has a session later today about I think it's today, I'll have to check the schedule, about exploring the ATA library. Now, the virtual trips, oh, go ahead, Dan.
It was yesterday, sorry. It's going to be offered
bad.
again. I'll check to see if it's recorded, though.
I believe he was going to. All right, so the virtual experiences don't have to be elsewhere in the world. It can be right within our own body. And if you haven't ever seen the BioDigital human, It's super cool. And so there are numerous connections to various health curricula through the grades. So there is sort of that business requested demo, but if you just click Students Start Now, there is a way to log in, but it can be as simple as just clicking Students Start Now. They will ask you to continue with the Google account, very easy to authenticate. And then you can see the human body. And there's a whole bunch of different options you have. There are different things. So let's go to ear, nose, and throat as an example. There's a cochlear implant. So if I wanted to just do a cross section, or let's learn about an earache, let's try this one. That was premium content. So let's just do a cross section of the ear. So what you can see here is this virtual ear and the different parts of it. You can zoom in and out. You can hover over certain pieces. There's information there. And so BioDigital.com, a great site. In fact, they even have, because you haven't heard enough about COVID-19 lately, there's even a library of coronavirus-related media assets. So how does a vaccine get developed? What are the symptoms of COVID-19, et cetera? And so you can kind of see it in this virtual space here. So this is a sort of a model of some normal breathing. And you can see, I don't know if you'll be able to tell once it loads up, you'll see the lungs actually moving. And then it just gives you some various other options for that. So here we go. See the oxygen coming in. So yeah, it's a wonderful tool. If anybody's using these tools and wishes to comment on that, you are more than welcome to do so. But that is a great tool for use with students. So those are some samples of some virtual experiences around the world using various tools, including our own human body. We're going to switch categories now, sort of some things. Do we know the amount, the sources of information? No, I don't actually. No, I can't verify the data on that particular site. I don't know. I don't believe it's affiliated with the World Health Organization, for example. But I know this site has been around for quite some time, and whether, you know, I would say that the human body representations are fairly accurate, but in terms of research, etc., no idea. But a good question to ask and a good point of discussion with students, right? What can you believe from things you view online? So let's do a couple of activities and templates and things that can spark some creative writing or descriptive thinking. And the first is an activity that I first came across many years ago, probably a dozen years ago. I was involved in a video conferencing project. Some of you may recall in the mid-2000s, late 2000s, a whole bunch of video conferencing equipment being through SuperNet and Alberta Education being distributed. And they thought, okay, how can we use this in education? And there was a really cool activity structure at the time that a lady named Roxanne Glazer and Janine Lim came about called a Monster Match. And I've since found this on a particular website, and it could be a wonderful activity for you to do with students through your live Google Meet or Microsoft Teams or Zoom activities with live video. And there might be other ways too. And basically what it involves is this. Someone draws a picture, a secret picture of a monster. It includes various features, colors, arms, eyes, mouth, feet, etc., body types. Then writes a very descriptive paragraph describing it. Now, the rest of the class then tries, from only using that descriptive writing, tries to recreate what they think that monster looks like. Then, once everybody's finished with their drawings, the person shows the actual monster and they compare. And they realize, hey, you didn't describe this, you didn't describe that. And so it really, this can be something that students could take turns doing, students drawing their own monster, and then writing a very descriptive paragraph about that monster. And then at the start of or the end of your Zoom sessions, lead the rest of the class through this particular activity. It could be something done in groups as well. And then basically when all you have to go by is that written description and you have to recreate the monster, you then start to develop some of that very descriptive writing. Now this is something that could be done. I put in the slide notes, sort of the steps to follow. But on this particular link to this website, descriptive writing monster style, it goes through the steps, very simple. Now, could you have them create, instead of a monster, a superhero, a vehicle, a regular animal with numerous parts of different animal bodies? Sure you could. There's loads of different ways you could do this. It doesn't have to be a monster, but you get the idea. So that's a fun activity. I've also included a link that I'm not sure if this person put it, but there's also, for those of you who maybe teach Div 1 or Div 2, if you'd like to do this, there is a website called Storyline Online where you have semi-famous people reading storybooks. And there's a cool book that can go along with this particular one called I Need My Monster. I don't know if this is a popular book or not. It's been a long time since I taught elementary, and even the language arts is my minor. So this is a lady who's Rita Moreno. I don't know who she is, but she's reading this book, and it's a wonderful, maybe an intro to this particular activity to get started with your students. So give that one a try. In a similar way, emoji stories can be a fun way to communicate. And so it can be taking a regular story and lining up several different emojis in a row to be able to tell that story. And then maybe it's sort of a mystery that all the others in the class see that emoji story and try to decipher what it means. Or it could just be a way for students to try to take meaning from a piece of text and create their own emoji story just to help them focus on the elements of that particular writing. Regardless, there's a couple of ways you can get going with the emojis. June mentioned the Bitmoji. That can certainly be a lot of fun for you as a teacher to add some of those graphics to your work that you're sharing with students, your slides. As you've seen, I did it early on. Please don't encourage students to add the Bitmoji extension because there are some borderline ones that would be considered inappropriate by most teachers. But with emojis, you're good to go. There's a couple of ways to add emojis. These are all live emojis in here. And if you want, in Google Slides and Google Docs, and probably Google Drawings as well, there are emojis built right in. They're a little bit hidden. And so when you're in a text box where you can add something, you can choose Insert and down to Special Characters. A little box will pop up on the screen here. And then right now it's set to symbols, but I can go down to emoji. And then these are the people and emotions. There's other categories of emoji. So you can certainly click on that and it just pops it right in and just close it whenever you want. Okay, so that's one way to do the emojis if you're using Google tools. Some other people will choose Chrome extensions. This one is an emoji keyboard one, and basically it lets you search, and you can click on any number of these, and whenever you're ready, hit copy and then paste, and now your emojis right from your browser can be pasted into whatever you're working on. So that's another option as well. So thank you for the chat that's going on in the group chat. That's wonderful. Now, social media templates. You don't actually want kids using TikTok necessarily in class for assignments, or Facebook or Twitter, Instagram, etc. But you might want them, they might be excited about that experience. And so Matt Miller, if you click on the right side here, I've also got it down here, he's got some awesome social media templates. And what you'll see on this particular site here, he's also given links to various whole blog posts showing how to use these particular things. So for example, this is a sample Snapchat game. This is a fake Facebook page. These are all created in like Google Slides, Google Drawings. This is a TikTok using Google Slides. So here's a link to his blog post, and it will give you a link to make your own copy. Click here to make a copy. Click on it. It'll say, hey, do you want to make a copy? Why, yes, I do. And then what you'll see here open up is your own version, which you can now share through your various classroom learning platforms, be it Google Classroom or otherwise. Gives you some instructions. What else do we have here? Possibly some samples. So thank you very much, Matt Miller. There's some awesome ones there. A little closer to home, my former school division, Edmonton Catholic Schools, the MTech team, a couple of years ago for our faith formation day, we created some social justice through social media. There's a whole lesson plan here, and we included within that a whole bunch of social media templates. And so what you'll see load up there, and that's the left side of that same screen, there are ones for some fake websites, but if you scroll down a bit, there is a sort of fake Instagram. There's that same Facebook one that Matt Miller had. There are even some magazine covers in there, or newspapers. So it can be something that if you focus it around a particular, maybe it's a historical event, what would this particular person in history tweet about in this particular situation? Or what would an appropriate magazine cover story headline be for this particular novel character? Or there are loads of different ways to sort of make this relevant and connected to what you're learning. So loads and loads of different templates that you can try. And whether it's through, if you'd like to do that social justice activity, you're welcome to do that. There's the full lesson plan there, as well as sort of a little intro video, as well as the template links. But they've also got these social media ones. And Matt Miller, if you go on the slide notes, he's given other templates as well. This guy's awesome. And in fact, he's just written a new book called Tech Like a Pirate. And it is really good. I encourage you, there it is. I encourage you to buy it. He's actually one of the best out there. So there's all sorts of different, there's a sticky note brainstorming template, 25 graphic organizers, math icons, other icons, a whole bunch of different templates there. So I encourage you to give that a shot. And loads of great resources there from Matt. So thank you, Matt Miller. All right, moving on. We've got only a few minutes left. So I'll just show you a couple more of these things and you'll be able to explore the rest on your own. For digital citizenship, there's really nothing better in my view than Be Internet Awesome. And it is a whole series of lesson plans, as well as this sort of interactive, immersive world. You can see students playing on it. It works on all devices. And it can be a way for kids grades 4 to 9, I would say, to explore these different topics of digital citizenship. Be Internet Smart, share with care. Be Internet Alert, don't fall for fake. So the whole fake news idea, security, kindness, talk to people when you're confronted with certain things. There are also links in here to some other resources. For example, they've even got a parent guide. They've even got printable activities. They've even got a coloring book. So loads of great resources from Be Internet Awesome. There's also another resource with some curated lessons from, I made this website when I was with Edmonton Catholic Schools. You can check that one out as well. If you're looking for some ready-to-go digital citizenship lesson plans, we've got some in there for you. Loads of different activities here for to support numeracy with technology. One of them, some of you have asked about, digital breakout games. So for example, here's a link to BreakoutEDU's free games, and they even have digital ones where you don't need an actual breakout box with the locks and anything like that, although they do have some free games where you do have the kit. But if you want to go fully digital, you can just, on the free page, you can just click on digital games, and that will give you a whole host. This is a perfect habitat, is a kindergarten one. So it gives some clues, and it just walks you through some of these digital puzzles that you kind of need to solve. Invites kids to use various aspects of numeracy and problem solving, as well as communication, depending on how you get kids to work through these in a small group or individually. So lots of different free games. This goes right from kindergarten up through, they have loads of free games right up to high school. And in fact, I've seen people create their own digital breakout games or face-to-face breakout games for even things like diploma exam preparation. So you can get really high level with this if you wish to, but just for something quick that you want to start off with right away, BreakoutEDU has some free stuff right there. I've got a link here to pencil code. It's, anybody remembers Logo back in the 80s, where you had the little turtle with the pen on it and you code it to move forward and turn right. Some great numeracy activities and great estimation and calculation skills through sort of an art, coding kind of meets art. So I've given some links to some activities, tutorials. I've even given a sample. I give my own initials there. If you like coding, if you've ever seen the Microbit, it's super fun. But even if you don't have a Microbit, you don't have to worry about it, because Microbit gives you this web-based coding tool that built right within it, which you'll see here when I just go for a new project. It gives you this sort of virtual Microbit right there. And the tutorials start here, flashing heart. Highly encourage you to start that with students. It's super easy, super fun. And so if you don't have a Microbit at home, which is a tiny little $25 computer with a few LED lights on it, and you can make it do certain things like have the lights turn on. It's got buttons to push. It's got a speaker. You can shake it. It gives you a little virtual one there that you can code. So just going to all the different tutorials that are built right into this tool, it's a wonderful, wonderful tool. And although there are several more, I'll just give you the final one here. For those of you who've been using virtual manipulatives with students, I'm not sure if you've seen the toy theater ones. This is awesome. Loads and loads of different virtual manipulatives, everything from a marble jar to fraction bars, multiplication charts, all sorts of different ones. In fact, even there's an assessment area. So they have things like math flashcards and different fraction addition visualizers. So imagine getting kids to participate in that, or even record their screen potentially doing that. Toy Theater has some awesome, awesome virtual manipulatives you may want to use in your teaching. So I've given some links to some other stuff in here. Wonderopolis is some really thought-provoking articles. You can search anything, so I'm sure there's a connection to your science, your current events, social studies, various things. The Tween Tribune is by the Smithsonian. It is gives articles with different levels of reading. Looks like they stopped producing at end of March, but they've got loads and loads of free, current events articles that are high interest, low readability, or you can adjust the reading level. And for those of you who really want to be adventurous, CoSpaces EDU, you can kind of think Minecraft, but for your Chromebooks and your iPads, and being able to sort of create these three-dimensional worlds. You can add voice recordings. There's all sorts of things in there. So unfortunately, we don't have time to go through that any further. The only caution I'll give to you is we want to have fun. there's a fine line between sort of piquing kids' interest for these learning activities and at the same time distracting them. And because, you know, I've given a link to a blog post from the learning scientists which talk about seductive details. And in some cases, these funny GIFs we put on our slides or interesting stories we tell at the beginning of lessons can actually detract from learning, because that's the only thing they remember from the lesson and not what you actually wanted them to learn. So check that out. It's a fine line. You want to hook them and draw them in, but at the same time, not completely distracting them from the learning that's about to take place. And again, I've given a link to Matt Miller's great book, Tech Like a Pirate. It's a great book. But we're out of time, and you've seen a lot over the last 45 minutes. And I hope that there are some things that you've found here that you might be interested in either giving to those certain few students who just need to go a little something more, or maybe it's something just for your own sake, to spark interest. Yeah, certainly. Anybody else who needs the presentation, that short URL, once again, I'll type it in the group chat, is bit.ly/ATA-WOW. So thank you very much for joining. Really appreciate all your hard work and efforts you're doing at this time to support student learning. Thank you for taking part of your lunch break to join me here. And we're looking as a team to wind down some of our live PD sessions by the end of May. So if you have any specific requests or feedback, let us know on our Facebook page or email us at any time to let us know. Thank you very kindly. I'll stick around if anybody has any other questions. And I'll thank you, Wendy, and thanks to all of you who said some kind words. Hopefully there's one or two things you'll take away from today that you think you might be a lot of fun to start using.